Hey everyone, for another episode of Genesis Podcast, where we talk about blockchain technology and simplify for the audience. Let's go around the screen. I was going to say the room, but let's go around the screen and introduce ourselves. So I'm Bulent. I'm the founder of Move Network. We're bringing Move language, Move smart contracts onto Ethereum and different chains. Yeah, let's go around. And then Martin, why don't you kick
Yeah,
us up, and then we'll go to Kang.
yeah, sure thing. So, hey guys, I'm Martin, your marketing guy at Move Network, and today we are here for the ninth episode of the Genesis podcast, and we are here to demystify a bit of the trading experience along the EVM ecosystem with Kang, our special guest from Standard. So, Kang, feel free to introduce yourself a bit from Standard, and let's get the conversation going.
Sure. My name is Hyung Sok Kang. I'm South Korean, so my name is spelled as Kang Hyung Sok, but then it's hard to pronounce, so I just go by the Kang. So I'm building a fully decentralized orderbook exchange. Before that, I was contributing to Ethereum, Polkadot, Cosmos ecosystem as a career. So, well, it's nice to meet you guys, and then let's demystify about the orderbook decks. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And now, diving in about Standard, maybe some of our listeners don't know what Standard is. Some maybe already know by our recent announcements and everything that is going on through our socials. But could you tell us a little bit more about Standard Protocol and what exactly inspired you to create a DEX to start building this project and bring it to the people?
Oh yeah, basically I was also an AMM fan, and then I've been building these Uniswap works, and then I just realized that these AMMs require so much capital to operate. So basically, usually when these AMMs reach out to new chains, they ask for so much money to just form up a liquidity, and they also have to do those bunch of yield farmings to incentivize users to come in and then just make a valid platform. And then I was just always thinking, why not just build a actual liquidity infrastructure that is not that doesn't really use like a much of a capital? And then I wanted to focus on the capital efficiency, and then I just realized that order of exchange where users just trade to each other instead of going through intermediary with a smart contract will be just a lot better. So I've been working on that since like 8 months ago, and now the product is ready and I'm ready to launch. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, super nice. So it seems like the Kickstarter for all of this, for this idea, was the capital problem, the capital efficiency. And could you dive deeper into maybe other challenges that you faced in the early stages, or like when you were conceiving the concept of Standard and so on? What were the main challenges you faced, you and your team?
So, one of the main challenges. So, before we make an order book exchange, we were trying to build something similar as Ethena, but then we did not operate the funds to be done in like centralized exchange. Instead, we wanted to be truly decentralized and then try to operate on AMM. But then AMMs really didn't build us a really good tool to operate the market itself, and we just realized that there should be some better tools to build that. I mean, one of the reason why AMMs are now suffering in this age of bunch of like numerous multi chains out there is that AMMs require a huge amount of capital when they're trying to set up. So they either usually now produced by the chain's team itself, or they go through they just use their brand value such as Uniswap or some Velodrome. They go with the previous success to bootstrap liquidity from those other community members in the other chains. But then the the latter is not actually working well, to be honest. And many of whether you're just any AMMs in the new chain, they're always just suffering for just getting a new liquidity for trading a new asset, and then that really stops them to list any other new assets and then try to build the better liquidity in there. And that's when I really started to think that TVL is very much overvalued in DEX. I mean, if we're talking about money markets or some yield aggregator, TVL might be a good indicator to compare these products. But then when it comes to DEX, what we really have to see is pretty much how well the money is liquid into that platform. So I kind of try to come up with a new metric where TVL is divided by maybe like volume divided by TVL, so that we can measure how much active the money is, which is at the volume. And if we divide by the TVL, we can pretty much figure out how much locked money is actually flowing into that platform, right? So when I try to compare with the order book, when we did like an alpha launch on a L2, I just realized that our order book exchange was like 111, 116 times more efficient than the AMMs. And then I just realized that this could be the next exchange feature exchange to actually run this on any other chains. And we're now trying to expand from EVM to other smart contract languages such as Move. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, super nice. And now shifting a bit the question to Bulent as well. How would you
Mhm.
say that Move Network's infrastructure or the way that it's built could support and solve those challenges, such as like for projects such as Standard, which they faced with capital efficiency, with liquidity, with fragmentation, and all this stuff? How do you see Move Network coming in handy in those cases?
Yeah, on the technical side, definitely Move language is more well suited for the DeFi platform, especially if someone like when we go to like the smart contract language itself, the support for generics allows like in Solidity you have to sort of like define every coin pair one by one, but with the support of generics in this Move language, it allows people to like define the exchange once, and then you can plug in any kind of pair using the generics. So it generalizes the one thing that works, and then generalize it for every kind of coin in a way. So that's not the technical term of explanation, but for like the simple way of explaining it, really like makes someone to be able to write code a lot simpler. And then the other thing is because the Move language is account based, account resource based blockchain. Allows like the exchange, like the transfers between different accounts to be able to like run in parallel, that run in simultaneously. So it kind of optimizes the exchange speed. When the traffic of this like these exchanges or the order book gets very high, it will be able to like handle high traffic, high throughput, and scale very easily. But just by naturally, basically, you don't have to scale up the whole blockchain. So I think Move Network is well suited for that. Plus, bringing in like existing, like having being on the Ethereum, being on working on the Ethereum blockchain, it allows users to be able to like have use familiar tools like MetaMask, and there's not going to be any like onboarding issues for that. So it allows existing user base to come and use any DeFi protocol like Standard. So I think that's going to have a lot of advantages for that.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like considering all the promises and all that Move Network aims to be, and combining this with the Standard vision, it makes a lot of sense to have such a project
100%.
with us, and it makes me genuinely happy. So our listeners here, they already know. We already told about our backgrounds, Bulent backgrounds with the tech side, my background, which I came from finance, and afterwards I joined crypto, and now I'm on the marketing side. So, Kang, you mentioned that you started all this because you were a fan of AMMs and all that stuff. Could you share a bit more about your background, your experience with crypto and blockchain, how you got started with it, or maybe your first struggles with it, like your first rug pull or something like that?
Well, there are many stories. I mean, like it has been like 5 years, like working in this blockchain so far. I mean, yeah. So one of the interesting career path was that I was a Terraform Labs employee, And Duquan was right next to me, asking me to write about this algorithmic stablecoin when this other business partner, Daniel Shin, pretty much kind of closed the relationship with him. I mean, he was kind of lost, and then he was lost cause, and then yeah, I mean, but then like he just kind of asked me to write like this basis.io implementation for like 18 hours or something, so I had to write it down. I mean, I was like asking like why would you do that? Because the tokenomics wouldn't work. I mean, it's an algorithm stablecoin, but then uh, I was saying that if like 80% of the tokens are not stuck into AMM, and then 20 or like even like 10% of the stablecoin is just used for uh, and more than 10% is used, I think the price, the peg will break, I would say. And then that guy was just still shipping it because I don't know why, but then like he was a narcissist, who knows? So, and then that's
This is
how Basic
Luna,
Cash.
right?
Yeah,
Luna project. So you say you were like sitting working with him, like you were
yeah,
sitting
yeah,
next
yeah.
to him.
So like he
That's
was
that's
kind of,
crazy.
I know it's very crazy, right? Like he was kind of desperate to just, I don't know why. I mean, like he kind of made this idea that he would like make the payments in anyways, but then when I got into his company, I just realized that he just put the private information on the blockchain itself, so everything is now public. And yeah, I mean, he had a really he was not a very competent CEO, I would say, and then he just wanted to build this quick, and then after that, like before Terra, there was like a basis cache, and then like he kind of stole my code, and then just I said not to launch it, but then he launched it, and then he screwed it, and then I was like, oh, I'm leaving this company. You stole my code. You didn't say what I had to do. I'm like, you don't really respect experts or whatever. And then he said, okay, go up. And then he announced this new coin called UST. I mean, at first I didn't know how it would go, but then yeah, here I am. So, anyways, before after getting out of the company, I kind of happened to know it the CoinDesk reporter, and then try to rebuild that what Duquan was doing, but then it was really kind of hard to find evidences because Cosmos is not very account resource based blockchain at all. Like its transactions now done on UTXO, so it's very hard to find the flow of the asset of one address, and then we were just trying to like reporter and I was just trying to find this evidence because the evidence is usually linked to this wallet account. So while I was doing that, and then warning the other people that Terra is doing a really like making a ticking time bomb, and then no one believed. But then yeah, things happen, and then I kind of have to gather around with those USD restitution group to reveal all those what Duquan was doing. And yeah, and I just thought that the founders or blockchain industry at all, like it's lacking standard. So I see a bunch of we're team members from nepotism from Korean centralized exchange trying to mess around with projects, saying that if my uncle has like is a centralized exchange coordinator and then or something. I've seen so many bonanzas like retarded corrupted persons in the industry, and then I just thought that we need standard. So
Is that where the
kind
name
of,
came from? Like have a standard.
yeah, I just wanted to have some
That's a,
protective boundary of myself in
that's
this
a good name
industry.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just kind of made my company a standard, but then I never realized that the founding member was also the nepotism guy from the Korean centralized exchange, and then
Hmm.
I kind of spent time to send him to a jail, and then yeah, well, yeah, there has been a lot of stuff going on at that time. Yeah,
Are you like fully like do you have like resolution on your side fully?
yeah. So I think the plan for them was to pretty much replace me after I make a product with the technology, and I just realized that, so I kind of happened to kick them out. I mean, in Korea, there's so many people who just take shit out of you if you just only have tech because they don't really think that tech is the important thing for all. Like they don't respect tech, yeah. And then they just try to do the business, and then they think that they're smart, just like Do Kwon. And that's why I don't know. Like I'm not trying to be racist, but Korean culture is kind of like that. Yeah, it has been like that in historical matter. Yeah. So
Totally understand. Yeah, American culture is really a good, really values technology, and yeah, you can
mhm.
see in different industries too. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you have a resolution and that you're moving forward and create this great DeFi protocol.
Yep.
It's great.
So now talking about what's moving forward as that, I just realized that we're now not having a great standard on
Mhm.
DeFi as well. I mean, like I think DeFi is now kind of more focused on building Ponzi's instead of protecting self sovereignty. I mean, what I liked about Move was that it is built on account resources, right? So it focuses on account. But then when we look at EVM, it is just processing in one by one, and usually these accounts are more focused. I mean, they're also like account based, but then if we see the cultures and everything, everyone is just looking at TVL and doesn't really care about the segregation of asset of users, or they don't really care how the funds are actually operated per account. So like that's like you go to bank, but then bank keeps all the money, but then you don't have a bank account, so you can only take a fraction of it. So if you actually put this into a web two or just like a normal person, it doesn't make sense. So like I think there has to be more better standards before we just say about DeFi and then shilling to people just to come in. We need to have a better standard on the how these finance in general has to be operated. So that's what I'm now focusing on. Yeah.
Yeah, super nice. So I really like the story from the name. Like the ecosystem
Yeah.
was lacking a standard, and now you brought the standard to life, right? You brought this concept, and but that's it. Like tough times create tough men. So having all this experience, seeing what was wrong, seeing like what really bothered you as a user, and bring this as a founder to the ecosystem to solve real problems for people is what makes like the project itself valuable, right?
True.
So, Bullen, for you as a co-founder of Move Network, what do you see as like the importance of having experienced founders that went through real struggles like Hang now building on Move Network?
Yeah, very good question. You really described like why we really believe in Move, like the account base, like protecting people's resources, really resonated with me. So I think a few things, like if you have the experience, a little bit of startup experience, a few things I could suggest would be like having, I call them principles, you call it standards. Basically, having relying on principles instead of just like coming up with stuff, new things like new rules every day. You're going to conflict yourself. But if you have principles like values for the company, values for yourself, and then reflect that onto the company and have like key principles, really helps you make decisions. And CEO job is mostly decision making. I mean, you just like daily, like, do I do this or that? And there's no going back. You should always move forward. So you can derail, and that can cause big problems. And also, like, you can be it could be emotionally taxing as well. So you have to have these principles and that guiding force. And then even though sometimes that force might be like, okay, well, I could have benefited from this thing, but I because of my principle I just chose this one. But believe me, that will benefit you eventually. So instead of just running around, that's one thing. And the second thing is like really like focusing on like one area that you want to fix, one like key area you want to fix. For me, when I looked at Move, this was instead of just working on a random project. Hey, there's this new trendy thing. Work on that. I've tried. I've been guilty of this too. I've tried all these things, and then it's just you're just chasing the next. You're just chasing something that actually like succeeded, but you're never gonna be the one that is succeeding. So that's well, there could be exceptions, obviously, but it's better to like focus on an area of interest and then figure out the problem in that space. And for us, it was like, hey, Solidity has a lot of issues, and Move is this amazing language, and it has a lot of benefits. But ecosystem is on the Ethereum side. How can we put these together? And that's even though there was no technology that was built, we didn't have any technological idea to develop. It was just a starting point of like, hey, how can we like bring this like great language and great language smart contract like potential onto like this big ecosystem. That was the starting point, and then eventually we settled on the technology. And I always say like the technology is there to help. For instance, like on the technology side, one like little change we made was we were focusing on like zk rollup specifically, and then we thought about this, and then we're like, look, what zk here is to solve a problem for us. Not people don't want specifically zk solution. People want to use it move on ethereum. And then but ethereum, like the l2s have this like 7 day withdrawal period for fraud proof. Well, zk can solve that part, so we're going to use zk to shorten the withdrawal period to like a few minutes instead of just making a full zk rollup. As when the zk technology gets faster and faster and becomes under 1 second, then automatically your blockchain is going to be a zk blockchain. So but that's just a feature for us. So those are the things like that made me realize, like, have some principles, focus on the customer, focus on like have passion in the one area and try to work on that area, and then find the problems and help people solve their problems. Just like we're bringing like we're going to be working with standard on with move network, just bring them on board and helping them. And so that's what we rely on. I think in the long run these key things are going to pay off.
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree with the guilt of chasing new things. I mean, if I didn't chase new things, I wouldn't even in the Terraform Labs, right? So,
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, I've been chasing things a lot too, and I've been in Polkadot, Cosmos, Ethereum, and then I just realized that all of those people are really not caring about standards at all. They say that they're the standard, but then like they didn't really think about the account users, and then we have
Hmm.
this Sam Beckman Free, Do Kwon, these weak mans making a hard time. I mean, as Martin, I believe that there's like what is the flow from weak man to strong man making a good times. I think we're in hard times because of them. Yeah, I mean, like people are now realizing that we're doing very hard as for market. I mean, and maybe like we're on a process of being a strong man, right? I mean, we're now discovering the new tools. Then we actually kind of realize that, oh, maybe Move is actually protecting users' account because it doesn't try to go with the it has a segregation as a account resource model. So I think it's our time to be stronger, to come up with a new tools and then build a better system so that these weak men, even if they kind of fuck around, it's in a better system, right? So like it makes less fuck around. So I think that's our kind of job to do that. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I just learned Move is kind of more focused on account resources, and yeah, I'm now more learning into how Move can contribute to the overall blockchain ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah, so this amazed me because like we posted recently for our listeners who accompany on us on the social side, on the socials. We posted our partnership announcement recently, and the post itself already highlights a few synergies that we have. And
Hmm.
now diving deeper into this makes it clear that both visions are aligned, and it's amazing to have Standard as our first official project building with us and moved and helping us expand this ecosystem and bring this new solutions to the users. So now going deeper into this solution, into standard, into what standard really does and how it differs from what we already see in the industry. I guess most of our listeners already know what a DEX is because we like
Hmm.
every now and then we talk about it in our tweets, we talk about it in our articles that we post. There is a lot of educational content about this, what we would call as like some basic concepts, but not all of them maybe know what an order book actually is. And so could you give us an explanation of what an order book is, what problem does it solve for users, and maybe more specifically for standard, what a central limit order book is?
Sure. So order book and AMM worked. So I mean, it's kind of hard to explain AMM too, but then orderbook, luckily, it has a comparison, like a really real life example, right? So when we look at the stock exchange, or when we look at the Binance, we have this something like a stick graphs showing the how much orders are stored or in a certain price, right? So that is called an order book. And when we say standard is delivering the order book, it is same as we're delivering the Binance totally working on chain. But then you might ask, like, why wasn't this possible before? Because it was because that the gas was really high. Look, I mean, like, if we just tell about the gas, it's a fee to make a transaction on a blockchain. But then in like 2021, it just costed like $50 just to send the token, send the like a USDC or USDT to other wallets. And it was really bad. UX was really bad. But then thanks to this L2 ecosystem, thanks to this Ethereum core depths, we're now facing a time where it just costs 1 cent or like maybe maximum $2 to trade on this making a Binance on fully on chain. So right now, I think it's our time to really kind of deliver really complex apps that are really working for this Binance or Coinbase or whatever, and then we just kind of call it as like a order book. So we could maybe, if people are hard to understand, maybe you can understand it like that. So, but what I'm also excited about the move is that these kind of EVMs, as I said, EVMs are now kind of processing transaction one by one. So parallelization is kind of hard to achieve. So the speed is kind of still slow, but if we kind of use Move, it might actually make it more faster. And then it is also built-in account resource model, right? So order book is actually trading between a person and the others to buy and to sell. And then if we could use these accounts to work in parallelization, this could actually boost more performances of using standard. So that's what I'm kind of expecting about using Move right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so explaining it in
Mm.
really simple terms for the audience who may not get it on the technical concepts, we could say that it is basically like in a crowd full of people, let's say in a festival, and someone sells water and someone wants to buy water. And
Mhm.
one person says, like, no, I only want to buy a bottle of water if it costs $2. If it's 180, I don't want it. If it's 220, I don't want it. I just want it if it's $2. And on the other side of this crowd, there is a guy selling bottles of water for $2. And what Standard does is connecting those guys together and matching their orders so that everyone is happy, right? The guy
Yes,
that wants to buy
marketing
a
rep, right? Yeah,
bottle of
that
water, if he wants to buy like for $5, that's on him. He may find a pair, or maybe if he wants to buy like for 10 cents, maybe that's too cheap and no one wants to sell at that price, right? So the Standard does its best to connect those people who want to buy or sell an asset at a specific price, right?
perfect. That's a right explanation, and it could be water, it could be banana, it could be anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all permissionless, and yeah, we hope to see maybe trading bananas in the Move network or
Yeah.
bottled water. Yeah,
That would be like
yeah,
stable coins or meme coins or whatever. Like
yeah.
however the ecosystem feels like trading, it's all possible on Standard, right?
True. Yeah, we just only make a optimize order flow for everyone so that people can always find the lowest ask and highest bid, so that they can always find the best trade in our platform if they submit orders. So, yeah.
Amazing, amazing, super nice. And now talking about the way that the standard keeps moving itself. Could you get a little bit deeper into the typical revenue model for a general DEX and for standard, if there is any difference between them?
So general decks, when they look into it, they have this liquidity pool fee, right? So they when users trade, they take the fees from the LPs, and then LP token, part of it is sent to the foundation so that they can use that LP to claim back those like tokens from the pool. But instead, Standard tries to give out more robust system to reward users who actually trade on it. So back then, LPs were only able to earn the tokens they deposited in the AMM DEX. But then what we do different is that if we just let users trade each other, and then we give out the points to the traders who make a trade between the others. And then once they earn this active trades, they can claim it back through a revenue that we generate from there. So like back then, Uniswap, when you just deposit ETH into USDT, you could only get a part of the ETH or USDT. But in our decks, if you just trade on there, you can just get a share of any kinds of token into our from our whole revenue. So it's like you get more tokens just by trading it more actively. So it could be UST, USDC, Ethereum, or any other tokens that we get as like a fee. So that would be a more beneficial um, point than just using an AMM, because we can provide diverse option of tokens to reward users right now as a fee. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And Bulent, talking about having Standard now on Move Network,
Mhm.
does Move provide any support or flexibility for different revenue models that dApps, not necessarily just DEXs or Standard, but dApps in general can implement? Does it help in any way or innovate the way that they can rely on their revenue models?
Well, I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
say if it is account resource focused, I think it will be more easier to get the
Hmm.
accounts performance. So we usually use a custom indexer from EVM to track how many trade history a user has made, how long has user been active on the DEX. But if we
Hmm.
could have the data in more account resources manner and move, I think it just gives a more personalized approach to the user to getting a benefit. So I think that would be
Yeah,
nice to have that. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Plus
Bulent, what are your
upgradability.
Oh,
Yeah,
upgradability. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
upgradability. Yeah.
Upgradability too. Yeah. So like Move also has the upgradability, right? So like
Hmm.
in EVM you have to use proxies and kind of, yeah, I mean like it's kind of getting complicated to do all of that, but then Move had this upgrade so that when there's any like a hotfix or some, let's just say that there's yeah, that's actually better because like we do have this kind of like a BIP program to make a level of the users who actively trade. So there could be some other events, like we could also do some trading competitions, which is also using a new kind of metric to track the performance of the users. In this case, I think in EVM, we have to make a new contract and then switch the address, and it's kind of hard. But then, if you put an upgrade, we can just use the same contract address, and then don't need to worry about just look at finding the lost contract address or whatever. So I think that's better. Yeah.
Plus using the Ethereum RPCs and standard Ethereum RPC access, like you can plug in an existing like indexer, and there's a lot of tools in this space that also helps too.
Oh, great. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was actually compatible. That it just really helps a lot to just integrate. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. The best what would how we describe it is like we don't want to change like the users existing Ethereum users behavior. We just want to bring and move onto the way they're used to. So, like a developer will bring in move contracts, but the users will still be using MetaMask. They wouldn't even know the difference. It's just a network selection basically at the top. You just change your network. It's natively supported. But other thing I want to mention is the bridging. So, like bringing your assets onto this L2 is usually the big concern. Not even just L2, L1s too. It's a big concern because there's a lot of tools are involved and there's a lot of fees. Like when you do like a bridge, like once I did it, 20% of my money was gone basically. It's such a high fee basically to transfer. We have basically a native bridge on Ethereum because the consensus of our network is on Ethereum. So the actual bridge will work on the natively directly. So within like 10, 15 to 20 seconds, you'll be able to see your Ethereum on Move Network and continue using with basically practically no fee.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that's yeah,
Yeah,
that's gonna bring
native.
in
I
a lot
mean,
of.
like for like the bridge actually takes like a 1 week to take out ETH from layer 2 to layer 1. So many people really want to use the other bridges that has the custody in there, and then yeah,
Mhm.
that's good news. Yeah, native bridge, which is faster than the others, is really nice.
Yeah, and eventually we will have like different tokens, ERC20 tokens, to be able to bridge, and even NFTs, ERC 721 NFTs to be able like being bridged over. So like if standard supports NFT exchange, that's gonna be like down the road. That's gonna be like natively supported too. So there's like the benefits of like bringing these from the platform, from the blockchain, has its own like benefit. You don't have to create your own bridging or any other thing, basically. So we think that that's gonna make a lot of big, and bring another a big advantage, basically.
Wow, that's amazing. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to use that once the API is out. Yeah, definitely,
Mhm.
that's really nice. Yeah.
And one thing that we were talking about, and it came really often in our conversation here, was always the safety, the asset safety for users and everything. And we mentioned also a few times like this account aspect of moved and everything. So, Kang, how does Standard ensure that user assets are safe on the platform? Could you get into specific, maybe security measures that you guys implement, and how to assure that the assets are safe?
Okay, so since I built an order book, so it seems like and one thing that is different from the other AMM is that we don't really lock the funds into a contract. So many DeFi protocols are just busy increasing TBLs, but they don't really care about diversifying the risk. So like, and then they eventually end up just hacking whole funds into their own smart contract, like making TVL. We don't focus on TBL because of it. Instead, what we do is that we just only put contract as like a custody for each traders to do atomic swap. So let's just say that, let's go back to the example when we're trying to trade a water, a bottle of water. So let's just say that if a seller wants to sell to anyone, and I mean without knowing its identity, but then just sell the water into $2, and then we just have a one person who wants to buy that in $2. So what Standard does is that Standard has this like it has a safe, and then what seller does, it stores water bottle into that safe, and the buyer has $2, and then they, once he saw that the safe has like a water bottle in a $2 slot, he deposits this $2 to the safe, and then Standard sends the water bottle to the buyer, and then $2 to the seller, and then these two people don't need to know each other before trading, and then that's what Standard does. I mean, it would say people. I mean, like people call this an atomic swap, and then we are actually making an atomic swap for every buyer and seller on any assets that they provide. So this means that they don't need to know each other, but then we can use the automated custody kind of like a platform which is Standard to do an atomic swap. But then we built this in like an order book way where this can't be stored in a lowest ask or highest bid. So in this case, as we don't really have funds for hackers to really kind of hack, our security is much better than these other AMMs, I would say, because there's just no funds for hackers to like really hack, because it is always just users trading each other. So if they want to hack Standard, they're just like they were just gonna have to hack different stuff, not us, because it is just all about users trading to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So now, hanging on to the water example, let's talk about liquidity a little bit.
Mhm.
So, like we mentioned this a lot. We mentioned a lot of concepts here, like TVL, this and that, and liquidity and its importance and everything. And for someone who is like maybe not used to a trading experience on chain or to the trading experience at all, how would you define, how would you explain in easy terms what is liquidity, and maybe connect to how it impacts trading on any exchange, but on standard as well?
Well, when we talk about liquidity in like AMM, it's definitely how much funds are actually in custody in AMM for trading. But in our case, which is an order book, liquidity is not the case. But then actually, volume is what matters. So, well, we would say that liquidity matters when the users are trading to or buying, selling on an order book, but then there's no matching trades. But then that's when the liquidity is low in our case. But I think we have to define liquidity as a different concept from an AMM. But we have a way to increase liquidity in our case. So we kind of, uh, so standard is not only building an app, but then we're trying to build an API for automated trading bots, or we're now researching on this AI to actually research on the trading data and then best find a way to do market making. So in our case, we try to we do more efficient liquidity management by using bots to execute buy and sell instead of just depositing like 1 million or $2 million into an AMM. So maybe what would say that required liquidity for just matching trades would be like $1,000 on each side, I guess. Yeah. So our liquidity is very efficient compared to the others, and we're kind of ready to support some new assets or long tail assets that are trying to wrap up the liquidity in there. And yeah.
Yeah, nice. And
Hmm.
if we take a look at Standard's website, yesterday when we made the announcement of the partnership, we also put there the website for all of our followers, our community to see and to use the app and everything. We can see in some parts of the website that you sometimes mention the point system with the STND token, the standard token, and the membership and everything. So, could you explain a little bit to our listeners, how does the point system work? How does this STND membership work, and what are the benefits for users?
Sure. So as we said, we don't have LP tokens unlike AMMs, but then we have this point system where users can get fees just by a rebate, or I would say, by just trading actively on the platform. So we try to do like a trading competition, just like a Binance or KuCoin. Once we have a certain asset to increase volumes in our decks, we're gonna do some trading competition to pick out the top 10 active traders and with a prize pool. And with that, users can actually trade on our decks with the certain eligible pairs. Let's just say that we just call this a bottled water token as water, and then we support Water USDT, Water ETH, Water USDC. And when users trade on that, they get certain points. And then with that points, they can claim it back to. I mean, like we all not only we also like reward top 10 traders with that point amount. They can also use that point to use that for next competition, because we're going to give out the point token. I mean, the point itself as like a token after each competition. So users can now trade on the point token, or they could claim it back for another trading competition to happen in our standard.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's also a way to benefit like your most loyal users, because if they're trading on, let's say, every competition or every pair that you put there and everything, they tend to get more and more tokens and be more rewarded, right?
Yeah, so we don't want to see the people who just sits on the money. So AMMs usually it involves in VCs, and then VCs kind of just take all those lion shares when users trade. We don't want that to happen. We just want the most active users to get the most reward out of it. So that's why we don't really value liquidity providers, but we value active traders who really uses our platform. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
it's a way to saying it in the crypto slangs, it's a way to reward those who are actively in the
Mhm.
trenches, like they
Yeah,
are every day they're trading and struggling and all that stuff. Yeah, super nice.
we
And
reward strong men. Yeah, in hard
yeah,
times.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
reward the strong men,
yeah,
or at least those who are trying to become strong men. Yeah.
yeah.
So, and now speaking of the like general DEX ecosystem, the DEX environment and everything, do you see any interesting trends or developments
Mhm.
that excite you, or that give you a light that you and Standard should stay ahead of a given trend or something?
So I see this perp decks are now thriving, and people now, and it seems like people now prefer this order book based experience. But people are also now complaining that why isn't there a new pair for making a perp decks? You know, and the reason why is very obvious. These perp decks are not real order book decks. They're not getting a data. They're not making a price discovery. They're just only rely on this trading view chart, and then let just people deposit this their asset, and then they the sum of perp decks is kind of make commingle the users funds together, and then they just use this off-chain client, and then I wouldn't say that that is actually a decentralized exchange, rather it's just yeah, it's just mimicking it. And we're now seeing this trend that people want more decks, and they also want the more genuine experience. So what I'm trying to change in this world is that I just want to, in the end, I just want to have a real perp dex fully operated on a blockchain with the full discovery, so that people can actually list their any of their assets, and then make 100x future, or just trade on a spot and do whatever they want with the permissionless way. So I see these perp decks are now thriving. So I guess swap, the concept of swap is now kind of fading out as we see more generalized people coming into crypto. But then we see more genuine perp dex products would have to be born, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, amazing. And Bullet, how
Mhm.
do you see Move Network enabling projects and protocols to stay ahead of these trends, or bring these trends to the Move language, the Move ecosystem in this like DeFi DEX ecosystem environment? How do you see
Mhm.
coming in handy in this aspect?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, like we talked about all the possibilities of move and like being on Ethereum. That's all the stuff. Great. But aside from that, the interesting thing I see that can and potentially will happen in the next few years is the interoperability between different chains, where your assets on one chain, the other asset is on the other, and then you can actually make the transaction on a like a standard protocol on Move Network, and it can happen through that. So I can see this like interoperability becoming just like Cosmos, but done right, basically happening. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Oh yeah, sure. So like I think the reason why there's now blocker and interoperability is because I think it's just about this, recent, it's just like 2021 trend. Everyone wants to lock up their tokens into certain contracts, and I don't really like to see in this like next 6 or 12 months, because it is not good for interoperability. Operability. I mean, if you want to make things interoperable, you have to first focusing on an account where it can interoperate, right? But then these like interoperable platform, interoperable chains, they're just only focusing on locking users' assets. They don't really focus on users at all. And I don't think that's not gonna make it. Instead, just like standard, we just don't really keep our funds. We just let the users deposit on their agreement, and then it's just eventually users who takes it out, or just operate with it. So
To add,
yeah,
Kang, to that, I think the future of interoperability is going to be slightly different. Well, majorly
mhm,
different, I would say. Like
yeah.
the like this, I see the super chain that we would like to be participate in. They're like they're connected to Ethereum and base chain, Optimism, Zora, other ones, Moon Network being able to like, do atomic transfers. That's gonna You don't have to participate, but you can just stay in the same chain if your application works that way. That's okay. But have like interoperability is not forced. it's kind of an added benefit. Basically, that's
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of right approach.
Yeah, I think we have to give more control to the users so that they can do whatever
Exactly.
they want. And I just don't want to feel that I'm actually like affecting their life or something. But then just
Yeah.
give them a choice where they can do anything. So yeah, giving more
Yeah.
freedom is the trend, I guess, if we
Hmm.
going for interoperability. Yeah.
Yeah. And as we head already to the end of our episode, I would like to ask you, Kang, what's on your mind, your roadmap for the next like coming half a year or the next year, and also maybe relating something to interoperability and all this discussion that we see going on with Move Network, the super chain, and everything. Do you see something, or do you want to share something to the listeners that they should be aware of and keep an eye on Standard for some given update or new feature that is coming?
Oh yeah, we do have. I mean, we're trying to release an API in Python and JavaScript so that maybe like traders from traditional finance can actually join. I'm now getting some feedback from the top five traders on the Binance or something, and then and I'm just going to submit a Python API to them and then see how it goes. And we also have an update about this AI agent platform called StandardX, and we're going to do some node sale on an upcoming month, I would say, and then let's see how it goes. Yeah, because we're now really very serious about this AI agents in general. Because I don't think that users alone cannot operate the economy itself. Because 70% of the stock market, I heard, it is now being operated by AI, and I think yeah, I got kind of surprised about that recent article that I saw, and if we want to catch up to this traditional finance level, I mean, we'll have to eventually apply this AI agents. And I hope to see these kind of things kind of happening the same in the Move language too. And Move is definitely a language for accounts, right? So I'm looking forward to see some AI accounts as well. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I always like this part of the podcast because every
Hmm.
time the founders and our guests, they always have like great information, great alpha of what's coming. And I guess that's really, really valuable. And Bullens, do you want to also add something that our listeners should be aware of coming to Move
Hmm.
Network, or as Standard grows and adds these all these steps that Kang mentioned right now? How do you and Move Network plan to support those new features? Plan to help bring those ideas to life as well?
Hmm. Yeah, for us, the biggest thing that's coming up is our DevNet launch. And so until now, I mean, until our DevNet launch, which is coming in a few months, we're planning to have it in a few months, is that we're just, talking hypothetical, like, oh, that's, planning and like hypotheticals. But with DevNet launch, we're going to be able to allow people to just start deploying their contracts. And, the best way to see if it's going to work is to put standard order book on Move Network with DevNet launch and then start using it. And this way we can we're going to learn from the experience. We promise really good features like Ethereum bridge, direct Ethereum bridge from Ethereum, and we're going to be able to see that how that bridge works, how Move language itself works, how that account-based resource model works with an actual example. So we're internally testing these things ourselves. Like we do like a lot of like coin generation testing and stuff like that. But being able to see a real order book running with the DevNet launch is going to be exciting, and it's gonna align with like the standards like timeline as well. So I think we're pretty excited about that.
Sure. I
Amazing.
mean, I also agree with that. I have to start with the DevNet because it is kind
Hmm.
of like first time to build on Move right now, and then I imagine that a lot of trial and error would happen. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
just better to build on DevNets or not. And but I'm kind of glad that I kind of have kind of like a dedicated support to build a Move based language in this Move network. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
super.
and we're growing our ecosystem in a very more open way. I see some folks like blocking like these protocols, these projects like it's like, hey, you can only build on our blockchain. We don't want to do that. Like we we trust we believe in our ecosystem. We believe in our project that it's going to help the whole crypto ecosystem. And so I think the best way is to work together and help everyone that want to build, and also move, or even though you say you're just starting, there's a lot of examples on move is a quite a mature language at this point. So I don't think there's going to be any issues. um, from our side, we're testing a lot of things already, so when we launch the devnet, it's going to be quite solid, I think.
Yeah, so super nice. Solid plans for both sides, and we clearly see the synergy here and how it will work well together. So I guess that's pretty much it for today's
Hmm.
discussion. Once again, we thank you a lot, Kang, for joining us today, for taking the time and answering the our questions, the listeners' questions as well, and also Bullen for taking the time and being here, and also like opening up what's
Hmm.
coming next for Move Network and everything. So for our listeners, as a final message from my side, I would like to say, as what I always say, which is stay tuned in our socials, in our Twitter
Yeah.
account, X account, at Moved Network, our Telegram channel, where we will always share the updates, share new things coming. And if you have any questions, anything you would like to share or ask, or question, or whatever, join our Telegram channel. It's also at Move Network, in our
Hmm.
Discord server as well. And we will also now share more content from Standard on our X.
Hmm.
Standard has a huge community also on X, posts
Yeah.
frequently, and we will share their developments, their updates, and everything. So make sure to follow them as well and stay tuned in their socials as well. And for now, like, to wrap up this episode, I would like each one of you to, like, if our listeners would take away one message from today's episode, what would you like to say to our listeners as a closing statement?
So I guess I'll go first. So from our side, we've been in this journey for quite a while, and we really believe in the benefits that we're bringing for the developers, for the smart contract developers and the users. And so we're just very excited to get to our DevNet launch soon, so that we can actually see what we promised. And we're very open with our we try to we try to our best to be transparent and open and support our ecosystem. And so we're very excited to work with developers like Kang.
Thank you. Well, for me, I would say that we're in hard times now, but it's now time. It's also time that strong men making a good time. So I would say stay tuned for a good time. I would say, yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. Once again, thank you guys for joining us, for the time, and thank you all listeners for having us in this conversation. And see you next time in the next episode of the Genesis podcast. See you guys.
Sounds great.
You
Sounds
guys.
great.
Bye.